Hello students, I hope you all are doing very much fine and your family as well. Please stay home, this is a very crucial time. So for today we are going to start with the very first chapter of science of class 7th. Now, this chapter is nutrition in plants. Now, in this chapter, you will study about various processes like photosynthesis, how it will take place, what are the importance of photosynthesis, what are the requirement for photosynthesis, and as well as you also study about what is nutrition and what are the types of nutrition like autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. And as well after that you will study about at last the example of the plants which show heterotypic mode of nutrition. So let's start.
Now, the first topic is nutrition. So, what is nutrition? The process by which an organism take in food and utilize it to carry out different life processes is called nutrition. So, what it means that first the organism take in the food and he do different life processes like moving, running, hunting, eating. So all this, to carry out all this different life process, the organism require energy for that. So energy comes from the food. Now all this process is referred as nutrition. Now the types of nutrition: there are two types of nutrition. First is autotrophic nutrition, another one is heterotrophic nutrition. Now what is autotrophic nutrition? The mode of nutrition where an organism prepare their own food by taking in simple substances is called autotrophic nutrition. Now what is this? So autotrophic nutrition is a mode of nutrition in which the organism prepare their own food by themselves. Okay, so that this type of mode of nutrition is called autotrophic mode of nutrition or autotrophic nutrition. Now for that they require simple substances. What are the simple substances? Like carbon dioxide, water, sunlight. So these are the simple substances which require for the autotrophic nutrition. Now for what are the example of the autotrophic mode of nutrition? The example is most of the green plant which can prepare their own food are showing the autotrophic mode of nutrition. Now the second one is heterotrophic nutrition. So the mode of nutrition in which an organism cannot make their own food and depend on other plants for and animals for food, it is called heterotrophic nutrition. So those organisms which cannot prepare their own food, like human being, like animals, like cow, buffalo, so which cannot prepare their own food, which depend on plants for their food, so this type of nutrition or this mode of nutrition is referred as heterotrophic nutrition. Now to understand the autotrophic mode of nutrition, we have to first understand the process that is referred as photosynthesis. Now what is photosynthesis? The process by which plants prepare their own food by using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll is called photosynthesis. So what is this? So the process, it is a process in which the green plant prepare their food. Now how they prepare the food? So to prepare their food they require carbon dioxide, they require water, and along with this they also require sunlight and chlorophyll. Now we will understand later on where they are present, how they obtain this. Okay, now next topic is product of photosynthesis. So what do you mean by the product? So product, as you know, in the industries, the final form of anything or any raw material is referred as product. Similarly, so what are the photosynthesis product means? After the end of photosynthesis process, what do we obtain? Now the first thing we obtain or product is, that is glucose. So the food prepared by the plant is known as glucose or is called glucose. Now glucose is stored in the plant in the form of in the complex form that is known as starch. So starch can be utilized by the plant whenever they need it. A starch can also be used by the other organisms like plant animals or other human beings as food. Now the next product of photosynthesis is oxygen. So oxygen is a byproduct of the photosynthesis, which is very much essential for the survival of different plants and animals. Now, after studying the product of photosynthesis, we move on to the chemical reaction of photosynthesis and the chemical equation of photosynthesis. Now, this reaction will tell you that what are the things combined to give you the product. Okay, so here if you see carefully, you will see the carbon dioxide combined with the water in the presence of chlorophyll and sunlight. It will give the product that is glucose and oxygen. So this is the chemical reaction of photosynthesis, which tell you that carbon dioxide combined with the water. So if you see the chemical formula, water is H2O and carbon dioxide is CO2. So 6 CO2 combined with 6 H2O in the presence of chlorophyll, in the presence of sunlight. So it will give you the glucose. C6H12O6 is glucose and oxygen is O2. So this is the chemical equation of photosynthesis. Now if you see in this diagram carefully, you will see that it is a plant. It contains some leaf. Now the leaf is taking the carbon dioxide from the air and obtaining the solar energy from the sun. Now after doing this photosynthesis, they require water also. So water and mineral are absorbed from the root by the help of roots from the soil. So in this way the photosynthesis is, you can see clearly. And after the photosynthesis, as you know, oxygen is released. So oxygen is given out by the plant in this way. So next topic is requirement of photosynthesis. So what are the essential items, or what are the things you require for the photosynthesis? So as such, there are mainly two raw material which is required for photosynthesis. First one is water and the second one is carbon dioxide. So along with these two, you can also understand that chlorophyll and sunlight are also very essential, or also the requirement which is required for the photosynthesis. So let us understand one by one. Now carbon dioxide is a gas which is present in our atmosphere. So carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere enter into the plant or through the leaves. Okay, so in these leaves, at the bottom of these leaves, they contain minute tiny holes. Okay, and those tiny holes are referred as stomata. So through these stomata, the carbon dioxide enter into the plant and it is utilized for the photosynthesis. Now next one is water. So what happen? The water is absorbed by the plant with the help of these roots. So these roots contain tiny hair which absorb the water from the soil. So what happen? In this way, the water will absorb by the root and go to the plant. Now next one is chlorophyll. Now chlorophyll is a green pigment present in the leaf. Pigment, what do you understand by pigment? Pigment means color. So it is a green pigment present in the leaf of the plant which traps sunlight. So why the leaf, the question can come like, why the leaf is of green color? The leaf is of green color because of the presence of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a substance which provides green color to the leaf, and it is also the important substance which help in trapping the sunlight from the sun. Now last one is sunlight. So sunlight is obtained from the sun. Now what mainly happen in photosynthesis? So what happen? The plant will absorb the solar energy from the sun by the help of chlorophyll. So what happen? This solar energy or this heat energy will convert into the chemical energy and it is stored in the form of glucose. So in this way the photosynthesis will take place. And at last you will find a small note. Now what this note say? This note will tell you the definition of stomata. Now what is stomata? As I told you earlier, it is a small opening present under the surface of the leaf. So it is a minute opening, or it is a small opening or a small hole which is present under the surface of the leaf. And you can also observe this stomata by the help of a device that is known as microscope. Now Each stomata is bounded with two bean shaped cell or two kidney bean shaped cell, and that is known as guard cell, which regulate the opening and closing of stomata. So what happen, carbon dioxide is taken by the plant through the help of stomata. So what happen, as they make the oxygen, so oxygen also comes out through the plant by this small hole that is known as stomata, and this opening and closing of stomata is regulated by the guard cell. So now first see the structure of stomata. Now this is the structure of stomata. So what do we see here? Here the tiny opening, the minute opening, it is known as a stomata. Okay, and this stomata is surrounded by two bean shaped cell, and these bean shaped cell are known as a guard cell. So these bean shaped cell regulate the opening and closing of stomata. How they do it? So what happen when the water move inside the guard cell? So guard cell becomes swell or they become big. So what will happen in this way? The stomata will become closed, but when the water will move out through this guard cell, so the guard cell becomes shrink, and in this way the stomata becomes open. Okay, now the importance of photosynthesis. So photosynthesis help the plant to prepare their food, and without food there would be no green plants. So that means, as we know, that all the organisms require food for their survival, because from the food they obtain the energy. So similarly plants also require food to do different life processes, okay, like transpiration, like respiration, like photosynthesis. So all this process require the energy, and where this energy comes from? This energy comes from the food. So without food there would be no green plant. Now next importance is animal depend on plants directly or indirectly for food. Okay, now how the animal depend directly on plants? So some animals like deer, like cow, buffalo, they directly eat the plant. So in this way they obtain the food directly from the plants. So in this way the plant directly depend on food, on plants for food. And how the animals depend indirectly on plants for food? Like some animals like tiger, like lion, so these animals, they don't directly eat the plant, they eat those animals who eat the plant or who obtain the food from the plant. So in this way the those animals obtain indirectly food from the plants. Now the third importance is all living organisms take oxygen prepared by the plant for their survival. As without oxygen nobody, no living organism cannot survive. So oxygen is very much essential for all the plants, animals and human beings. So it is very required, it is very important. Now on the basis of these notes we can answer these questions. Now what is the first question? What are the raw material required for photosynthesis? So the raw material required for photosynthesis are carbon dioxide, water, sunlight, chlorophyll. Now next question is, what is chlorophyll? Now chlorophyll is a green pigment which is present in the leaf of the plant, okay, which help in trapping the sunlight. Now next question is, name the product of photosynthesis. Also give the equation of photosynthesis. Okay, the product of photosynthesis are glucose and oxygen, and the equation is carbon dioxide plus water, arrow, chlorophyll and sunlight, and on this side the product is glucose and oxygen. So this is the equation of photosynthesis. Now last question is, describe the importance of photosynthesis, and the importance of photosynthesis are already mentioned here. So these three are the importance of photosynthesis. So in this way you can answer all these questions. Now let us understand the next mode of nutrition, that is heterotropic nutrition. As we remember, heterotropic nutrition are heterotrophs. So those organisms which cannot prepare their own food, which depends on plant for food, they are known as heterotrophs. So there are some examples of heterotrophs we will study in this chapter. So let's start with the very first of them, that parasitic plant. So parasitic plant are those plant which obtain its nutrient from other plants by living in or on it. So what is parasitic plants? Parasitic plants are those plants which grow on the other plants. So what happen when they grow on top of the other plant? They obtain all the nutrient from the other plant. So this type of plant is referred as parasitic plant. Understand the example of the parasitic plant. So first example is dodder. Now it is also known as amarbale. It consists of yellowish orange tubular stem that coil around the host. So what is cuscuta? It is a plant, yellowish orange plant, which coil around the other plant. So what happen? Dodder roots penetrate into the stem of the other plant. So when the root of the dodder penetrate into the other plant, so what will happen? They directly obtain the water, they directly obtain the food from the other plant. So in this way they will survive. So if you see here very carefully, you will understand the definition of host, which I am calling it a other plant. So host is a plant which provide nutrition to the parasitic plant. Okay, or we can say parasitic plant obtain the nutrition from the other plant, which is known as host. Okay, so next example is mistletoe. So cluster of mistletoe grow on tall trees. Okay, so what happened? The mistletoe plant grow on top of the tall trees like oak and mango tree. So they always grow in cluster. They have green leaf which help in preparing the food of the plant. So if you remember, we are doing the mistletoe. That mistletoe plant, what happened? They are of green color. So root of the mistletoe plant penetrate into the host, so to obtain the water and mineral. So what happened? The mistletoe is already of green color, so they contain the chlorophyll. They can do the photosynthesis. So what happened? They also require water for it. So what happened? The root of the mistletoe plant, they penetrate into the stem of the host plant. So what happened? They obtain the water and mineral. When they get the water and mineral, so by the help of sunlight, the mistletoe can prepare their own food. So in this way we can say that mistletoe is a partial parasite, while dodder is a full parasites or complete parasite. How? Because mistletoe obtain only or require only the water to prepare their food. Okay, so that's why we are calling it as partial parasite, while the dodder, which also both require both water also as well as food also, which obtain both the things from the plant, other plant, or which obtain both the things from the host. So that's why we are calling it as complete parasite. Now next one is next heterotrophs is insectivorous plant. Now those plant which obtain nutrition from the insects are known as the insectivorous plants. Okay, so those plants which eat the insects to get the nutrition, to get the energy, so this type of plant are referred as insectivorous plant. Why they eat the insects? The answer is that they grow in such type of soil which lack nitrogen, which lack in certain nutrient and mineral. So they obtain these nutrient and mineral from directly from the insects. Okay, so this is in the definition of insectivorous plant. Now the example of insectivorous plant. So there are two examples we will study, that Venus flytrap and the pitcher plant. These are the two example of the insectivorous plant. Venus flytrap. Okay, so it has hinge leaf. When the insects sit on it, it close and trap the insect, and they obtain the nitrogen from the insects. So what happened in Venus flytrap plant? Venus flytrap plant leaf are modified in such a way that what will happen, that they have a cage type of structure. So what happened, the inner part is very bright and colorful. So what happen when the insect sits on it? So it has a sticky substance on top. So what happen as the insect sit, so the insects cannot move, and the hinge closes and the insect is trapped in between. So what happen after that? The insectivorous plant release some chemicals so which help in digesting the insects, and in this way when the insect is broken down or digested, the plant or insectivorous plant like a Venus flytrap obtain the nutrition from it or nitrogen from it. Now next one is pitcher plant. Okay, so the leaf blade of this plant is modified into a long tubular pitch which contain sticky substance. What it means that the leaf of the pitcher plant is modified into long tube, understand, like a long narrow pipe, understand. So what happen as the insect sits on it, like insects like honeybee is there, so when they sits on this type of insectivorous plant and as they go inside this tube, so what happened on the top of this tube, they contain the lid. Okay, so see here, when the insect sits on it, so it closes the lid to trap the insects. Okay, so what happen as the insects go inside the tubular pitch, so what happened, the lid present or the cap present on the pitcher plant, it closes. So what happen, insects cannot go, and inside it the pitcher plant also contain the sticky fluid which hold the insects at its plates. So what happen when the insect is trapped in between the tube, so what happen, they also produce some harmful chemical which help in digesting the insects, and when the insect is digested, so what will happen, the plant will obtain the nitrogen and other useful nutrient from the insects. Now next type of heterotroph is saprophytic plant. Now saprophytic plant are those plant which are not green in color. Okay, they cannot do photosynthesis. Okay, so those non-green plant which obtain its nutrition or which obtain their food from the dead and decaying organic matter. Okay, organic matter like plant matter, like animal, plant and animal. Okay, understand here. So these are those plant which directly obtain the nutrition from the dead organisms and from the decaying organisms. Decaying means which is like rotten, understand. So this type of plant or heterotropics are known as a saprophytic plant. Now the example of the saprophytic plant is Indian pipe and fungi. Okay, Indian pipe, it is a small plant which is about like 4 inches long, 4 to 11 inches long. Now it has a waxy coating on it and it is a white color plant. Okay, that why it is of white color, what it means that they does not contain chlorophyll, because if they contain the chlorophyll they will be of green color. So it has leaf and flower which lack chlorophyll. It is normally grown in the shady woods, means under the shade of tall trees they are grown or they are found in the bottom layer of the forest. Okay, now next one is fungi or fungi. So fungi secrete digestive juices on the dead and decaying matter and convert it into a liquid, and that is used as a nutrient. So what happen, fungi grow on the dead and decaying organic matter. So what happen when they start growing, so they produce some digestive juices which help in converting the organisms or converting dead and decaying organisms into the liquid form. So which when the organisms converted into the liquid form, so these nutrients can easily be absorbed by the fungi which help in the growth or which help in different life process. So in this way the fungi obtain its nutrition from the dead and decaying organic matter. And the some common example of the fungi is mushroom and bread mold which grow on top of the bread. Okay, is that clear? Okay, now the next type of heterotrophic plant is symbiotic plant. Okay, now what is symbiotic plant? Those plants or organisms which live in association in between each other, so that they mutually benefit from each other by living together, is called symbiotic plant. So those plants which live together so that they mutually benefit each other, that means both the organisms when they live together they benefit each other. So this type of relationship or this type of plants are known as a symbiotic plant, and this relationship is known as symbiosis. Okay, now what are the example of the symbiotic plant? The very first of them is lichen. So lichen is a symbiotic plant. In this, two species of organism live. One is fungi and another one is algae. So the fungus provide the shelter to and water to the algae, and in return algae is of green color. So what happened? Algae prepared the food. So now understand the example of the symbiotic plant. So very first example is lichen and another one is rhizobium and the pea plant. So let us study about lichen. So it is a symbiotic association between the fungi and the algae. So in this lichen there are two species which live in association. One is fungi, another one is algae. So the fungus provide the shelter and water to the algae. So in return the alga is of green color. So what happened when the algae absorb the water and nutrient from the fungi, and also algae take the sunlight and carbon dioxide, so by that algae prepare the food. So what will happen? Algae provide this food to the fungus. So what will happen? The fungus also get the food, and in this way the fungus get benefited and algae is benefited from the fungus, because fungus provide water and it provide the shelter to the algae, and in this way both get benefited. Next one is rhizobium and PNP plant. So rhizobium is a bacteria. So bacteria like rhizobium live in the tiny swelling of the root, okay, or in the root called root nodule. So some plant like the pea plant, bee plant, so they got swollen root, okay. So why they got swollen roots? In the root swelling they contain a small bacteria. That bacteria is called the rhizobium. So what does rhizobium does? Rhizobium converts atmospheric nitrogen into the soluble form, okay. So nitrogen which is present in the atmosphere, it cannot be directly taken by the plant. So what happen? In their root they contain a bacteria called rhizobium. Rhizobium converts this atmospheric nitrogen into the soluble form, which go inside the soil, okay. So when the nitrogen reach inside the soil, so it get mixed up with the water. So when the water is absorbed by the root of the plant, so in this way nitrogen also reach inside the plant, and in this way both the plant also get benefited and the rhizobium also get benefited. How the rhizobium get benefited? Because the rhizobium obtain its food and obtain the shelter from the plant, and in return it provide nitrogen to the plants, okay. Now answer this some of the questions which we have already studied. On the basis of that we have to answer this question. Now whatever we have studied, on the basis of that we have to answer the following questions. So very first question is, what mode of nutrition do lichens show? So as we have studied, lichens show heterotrophic mode of nutrition, okay. Name the two species in the lichen. So lichen consists of two species. One is fungi, another one is algae. Now next question is, describe insectivorous plant. Explain with the help of example of the insectivorous mode of nutrition. So we have already understand the insectivorous plant, and those plant which depend on the insects are referred as insectivorous plant. And also you can explain the example of the insectivorous plant like the Venus flytrap and the pitcher plant. Next question is, describe two example of the saprophytic mode of nutrition. So you can easily understand the explain the example of saprophytic plant. One is the fungi, another one is Indian pipe. So in this question you can explain both of them. Now next question is, explain the symbiotic relationship between the rhizobium and the pea plant, which is already we have studied in this one. Now next topic is nutrient and mineral. So plant require different nutrient, okay, they require different mineral. So what are these? Let us study. Now plant require nutrients like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. So these are the four nutrients which is mainly required by the plant, okay. And they mainly obtain carbon from the carbon dioxide, hydrogen from the water. So oxygen from the air, nitrogen from the soil, in the present the water. So they require these nutrients in different way. And what are the mineral required by the plant? The mineral required by the plant is phosphorus. And so we are studying the what are the mineral required by the soil. So there are different mineral required by the soil, that is potassium, calcium, iron, phosphorus. So these are the mineral which is required by the soil for proper growth of the plant. Now replenishment of the soil with nutrients means when the soil lost its nutrient, how they can be re-added to the soil. So there are three processes by which these nutrients can be added. Now what are these processes? First process is the crop rotation method. In crop rotation method, instead of growing the same crops on the same field, so we grow different types of crop in different season. So what happened, let's take an example. Suppose we grow wheat crops on the farm, so or on the field. So what happened, the wheat crop consume a lot of amount of nitrogen from the soil, so our soil become deficient in nitrogen. So if you again grow the wheat crop, then what will happen, the soil again become less, again become deficient in nitrogen. So what happen, a time will come when the soil become barren and the soil cannot be suitable for growing the plants. Next method is by adding fertilizer containing nitrogen and other mineral to the soil. Okay, so we can add fertilizer, manure which contain nitrogen or any other mineral to the soil, which help in re-adding the nutrient to the soil. Next method is by planting pea and bean plant alternatively with other crops. So it is same as the crop rotation. How? So what happen, we grow pea and bean plant alternatively with other crops. Suppose one time we grow the wheat plant, next time we grow the pea and bean plant. As we know that wheat plant consume a lot of nitrogen, so what will happen, the soil become deficient in nitrogen. So what will happen when we grow the pea crop? So what happen, the pea crop or bean crop, they contain rhizobium bacteria in their root nodule. So what happen, this rhizobium bacteria convert atmospheric nitrogen into the soluble form. So what will happen, when the nitrogen becomes soluble form, the nitrogen comes into the soil, and the soil deficiency of the nitrogen of the soil can be improved or can be treated in this way. And after harvesting, what will happen, these plants like pea plant and bean plant, so these plants are allowed to decompose in the soil. So what it means, that when we obtain the crops, or we obtain the crops like pea or bean, so what will happen, the leftover part, the bottom part of these plants is mixed up with the soil. So what happened, this part will decompose in the soil and help in enriching the fertility of the soil. So in these three ways by which we can increase the fertility of the soil, or by which we can replenish the nutrient in the soil. Okay, now on the basis of this we can answer some of the questions like, name the different nutrient mineral that plant require for proper growth. So plant require different nutrient like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen. So these are the different nutrient. And mineral like phosphorus, iron, potassium, calcium, so these are the mineral required by the plant. Next is describe two methods which a farmer can replenish soil nutrients. So from this you can explain either the first one or the second one and the last one. So in this way, okay, you can answer these questions. Okay, thank you.